Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I'm bringing you my Ojama deck profile. This is an anime deck that was used by Chaz Princeton in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series, and the deck has gotten a lot of support, and newest of which is the new Ojama Emperor Link monster, which was very much needed for the deck. So yeah, this deck is a lot of fun, has a really great power level with just vomiting out Link monsters because you just can summon these Ojama guys so easy. And with the Ojama King and Ojama Knight, you can lock your opponents out of their main monster zones. So this deck is a lot of fun. Also, guys, if you are interested in other anime decks, I am doing a giveaway for the Toon Chaos set that is coming out with the new legacy support for Toon monsters. So if you guys want to check out that giveaway, the info is in my Instagram, as well as it will be in the description down below. But let's get on into the deck profile. To start off, I am playing 3 copies of each of the Ojamas. So we have 3 Ojama green, 3 Ojama black, and 3 yellow. Now I've seen a few people dropping these to 2, but I really think that that's a mistake. I like playing them at 3 just to make sure that you open up with as many of them as possible, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But basically the main reason is because we want to have a huge monster presence in our hand and on the field, mainly because of Ojama Red, which we are playing at 3 of. So when this card is normal summoned, it allows you to special summon up to 4 Ojamas from your hand. So it's just really nuts if you can open with red and a couple of the Ojamas in your hand. You can get just really spam out the board. So if you're not going to be able to pull off like the locking your opponent out of their monster zones with the fusions, then you can just go into some really nuts link plays. So that's why I prefer playing them in those ratios. And then I just play 2 of the Ojama Blue. He's not as good as the rest of the guys, but overall he is pretty nice. If you end up with kind of a bum hand, you can just take this and then crash into one of your opponent's monsters and destroy it by battle, and then you can pick up 2 of your combo pieces. So what this card does is that when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add 2 Ojama cards from your deck to your hand. So there are 2 Ojama spells in the deck specifically, which I like to pull off of him, which are Oja Match and Oja Magic. So he just works really great in the deck, just as a 2 of. You could even drop him down to 1 if you really need the deck space. Only 2 Rescue Cat in the deck. You really don't need 3. I mean, you can mess around with it at 3, but I just didn't have any deck space for the 3rd copy. It's really nice in the deck, but overall, like if you are really backed into a corner, you can use this to go into your XZ summon of there's one XZ that we play in the deck, or it's just like an automatic link too. But besides that, I really just prefer trying to get like Ojama Red onto the field and whatnot. So that's why I keep this down to 2. And then we're playing just the 1 Armed Dragon level 3 for our Oja Match spell. So that's going to do it for all of the monsters. For the spells, we're playing 3 Ojama Country. Now this card is just amazing. It's a little bit pricey, I believe, sitting somewhere between like $7 and $8, but overall it's a very nice card. You got to play it at 3 in the deck, but what this card does is that once per turn you can discard an Ojama card and then special summon an Ojama from the graveyard, which is very nice. And then also, if you have an Ojama on the field, you can reverse the attack and defense of all monsters on the field. So this does not affect Link monsters, but it's really nice for your fusions because they have 3,000 and 2,500 defense, but 0 attacks. You flop that around, and then it helps them to be big boys on the field. And besides that, we are also playing 3 Ojama Magic, or Oja Magic, I should say. And what this card does is that when it's discarded from the hand or sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add 1 copy of each of the green, black, and yellow. So it's just very, very nice to have in the deck. You need this to play at 3 of, and that's why you play the monsters at 3 of. And this card pairs really well with the Ojama Country, or it also plays with our next 3 of Oja Match. So this card is a quick play spell, and what it does is that you can send 1 Ojama card from your hand or face up on your field to the graveyard in order to add 1 Ojama monster with a different name and also an armed dragon monster, so that's why we play the one armed dragon level 3. And then immediately after this effect resolves, you're able to normal summon one of the added monsters. So it's really nice just to like add this into your hand. Even though it doesn't synergize with the rest of the deck, it's just a free extra normal summon. So really nice to keep that in the deck. Also, it can pull the Armed Dragon level 3 out of the graveyard as well. So it doesn't just have to come from the deck, can pull it from the graveyard as well. So that's why you only need the one copy, and it can always be recycled. Also, during your main phase, you can banish this from the graveyard to target 3 of your Ojamas that are banished and shuffle them back into the deck and then draw a card. That doesn't really come up too often, but there is a trap in the deck that does help us banish. And if you were in a niche situation where you're playing up against sort of like a Macrocosmos deck, it could be useful. But then going on, we're playing 3 Polymerization. It is technically a fusion deck, so we got to be playing that at least 2, or I like it at 3. And then also just to take out more of our opponent's monster zones is 3 Ground Collapse. Honestly, just like fiddling around with this card is really nuts. If you can end up just drawing 2 of these on your opening draw, it's just really nice to lock out 4 of your opponent's monster zones, and they can't do anything with it. The only downside with this is that if your opponent draws a Twin Twisters or something like that, it's basically useless, but taking out 4 of their main monster zones and only leaving them with 1 monster zone as well as the extra monster zone is really, really nice. So that's why I like playing that at 3. Then going on, we have 2 copies of Tri-White. This card does require a lot of graveyard setup. You have to have 3 level 2 monsters in the graveyard, so that's why I only like playing that at 2. Then going on, another Ojama card, Ojama Delta Hurricane. You could drop this card if you want to, but the potential of getting this effect off is just so great and so likely that I really like playing it. It's searchable in the deck, and there are a lot of times if you combo the Ojama Red to summon out all 3 copies of your vanilla Ojamas, you can destroy all cards that your opponent controls. So just really nice to keep that in the deck. Then going on, we have the 1 Fusion Recycling Plant, just because we're playing Poly in the deck. 1 Terraforming to help search out Fusion Recycling Plant, as well as our Ojama Country. And then 1 Instant Fusion, because we do have Ojama Knight as a target, as well as 1 other target in the extra deck. And then next we have 1 copy of Ojama Pajama. Now this is a card you could try to bump up to 2 or even 3 if you wanted to, but basically what this card does is that it adds protection onto your Armed Dragon on the field, which really doesn't come up that often because you usually just link it away. But basically, if your Armed Dragon would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish an Ojama card from your hand face up on the field or graveyard instead. And you can use that as many times as you want. So if your opponent is trying to destroy your Armed Dragon level 3, you just keep banishing your Ojamas. And then that pairs actually kind of nicely with your Oja match because you can just shuffle all those cards back into the deck later. Then also, during the main phase, you can add 1 Ojama card from your deck to your hand, and then discard a card, which works so great with the Oja Magic. So if you can just add Oja Magic to your hand and then just discard it right away, it's just a really nice combo. And then lastly, what this card does, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon as many of your banished Ojama monsters as possible. So just a nice little card to have in the deck. It's super searchable. That's why I just like it at 1. And it just, it's a trap card, so it's a little bit slow, but oh my gosh, it's just got like the cutest artwork ever, so you got to keep it in the deck. And then lastly, for our 40th card is 1 Metaverse. So obviously just because we're playing so many field spells. Going on into the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Ojama King. He's just so good in this deck. You could keep it at 1, but I really like these fusions at 2, so we're playing also 2 copies of Ojama Knight. So what these cards do is that your Ojama King has 3,000 defense and Ojama Knight has 2,500 defense. They both have 0 attack, but when they're summoned to the field, you can select up to 2 zones with Ojama Knight and up to 3 zones with Ojama King, and then your opponent can't summon any monsters to those zones while this stays on the field. So these cards are just really nice to have in the deck. That's sort of like the main focus of the deck, is just to lock your opponent out of those monster zones. And then also we are playing 1 Thousand Eyes Restrict, another instant fusion target, great for just linking off for link plays. And then also your Ojama Knight is a great instant fusion target if you just need to get one more Ojama for your play. So it's just the instant fusion is just in there for extending. Then next we have 2 copies of Ojama Emperor. You really only need 2 in the deck, but you could play it at 3 if you really felt like you needed to. But basically it's a Link 3 monster, and it requires 3 beast monsters, including at least 1 Ojama monster. And then when Ojama Country is on the field, your field spell, it gains 3,000 attack, and it can't be destroyed by card effects, which is just really, really nice. It's just nice to have a little bit of protection at least for this deck, because Legacy support just generally does not usually get like good protection. Also then, your opponent takes any battle damage that you would take from attacks on this card. And then once per turn, you can special summon 1 non-link Ojama monster from your graveyard. But then for the rest of the turn, you just can't special summon anything except fusion monsters from the extra deck. But that's pretty good. You know, it's nice to just get like 1 more Ojama monster from your graveyard. Like if you need 1 more Ojama for your fusion summons, or if you just want to get Ojama Blue back onto your field, it doesn't negate its effects. So if you get Ojama Blue back to the field and then crash into one of your opponent's monsters, just so that you can get your other spell cards and whatnot to your hand, it's just a really nice combo. Then for the rest of the links, we are playing 1 Link Spider, just because we're playing normal monsters, and this just really helps to set up your graveyard. If you draw into not too many of your extenders, but you open with like 2 vanilla Ojamas, this is just really helpful to just set up your graveyard a little bit and go into an easy Link 2 play. And with that, we are playing quite a bit of Link 2s, and this is where the budget is going to kind of differ for some people, but we're playing 1 Nightmare Phoenix and an IP Masquerena. These cards are not at all required, but Barricade Borg Blocker, I would recommend putting it in the deck. It's an easy Link 2 to make for the deck, and then also it can help protect your field spells. And then for a Link 3, we're playing Nightmare Unicorn, and then lastly, 1 Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax to pair with your IP Masquerena. And then we are also playing 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. And then for the 15th card in the deck, we are playing the number 64 Ronin Raccoon. So I just really like keeping this in the deck. It's such an easy combo to get off with your rescue cat, and it's just like it helps put a nice big beater onto the field. So now we are going to go on into some combos just to show you guys some of the other stuff this deck can do. Okay guys, for combo number 1, I'm just going to show you like why I just really like to play these both at 3 of. They're just such a powerful combo, but your Ojamagic and the Ojamatch, another great artwork on this card. I should have mentioned that before, but I really dig the artwork on some of these cards. But basically the way that you start this off, we're just going to use these 2 cards, but you activate the Ojamatch in order to send an Ojama card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then you add 1 Ojama card. So we will add, or you add 1 Ojama monster, so we are going to add Ojama Red, and then the second effect adds Armed Dragon level 3. Then we also chain the Ojamagic, which allows us to add Ojama Black, Ojama Green, and Ojama Yellow from the deck. So right there we have a +3 off of that effect. So you, you start with 2 cards and you end with 5 in the hand. So it's just really nice. Also with that, you get to immediately normal summon after this card resolves. So that means that you not only +3, but you get an additional summon. So we're going to just summon off the Armed Dragon level 3. And then we will normal summon the Ojama Red. And then with the Red's effect, we get to special summon all 3 copies of that. And so from here, we could really just take these guys right there. And we can go on into our Ojama Emperor. If we had our field spell, that is definitely what we'd want to be doing. Otherwise, you could also just do a couple of, like, for a few other options, you could go on into just, let's say, Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, by sending that as well. But also, if you wanted to just go with the Ojama Emperor route, what you do is you have that on the field, and you can take these 2 to link into IP Masquerena, and then use Ojama Emperor's effect to bring one of the Ojamas back from the graveyard. And then with that, on your opponent's turn, you could go ahead and use the IP Masquerena and Ojama Red in order to link summon into Nightmare Unicorn, and that's just going to really help to disrupt some of your opponent's plays as long as you have something to discard off of that. Or if you just have to get rid of a spell or trap, you can obviously go into Nightmare Phoenix, and then Phoenix will be co-linked with Ojama Emperor, which will allow you to draw a card. Alright, so for this final combo, I figured I would just show you guys a little bit of something on locking your opponent out of their main monster zones. So all you would need for this combo is like these 5 cards, or if you just want to make it more simple, just use the Ojama match instead of these 2, but I figured I would do this 5-card combo just to make it more realistic that you're not always going to be getting the Ojama match. But basically the way that you would start off this combo is you would normal summon out the Ojama Black and then link that away for a Link Spider. Again, this can be any of the normal monsters. And then now that we have an Ojama in the graveyard, you activate your Ojama Country, activate its effect to discard the Ojama Magic, and then once Ojama Magic is discarded, that's when we can add back all of our vanilla Ojamas from the deck. And again, this is why I'm playing 3 copies of each of these in the deck, because if I already went through 1 Ojama Black and I use Ojama Magic, now that means that if I only ran 2 copies of these, then I'm already done with all of the other 2 copies of Ojama Magic in the deck. So we want to be getting that off at least once, maybe twice if we can. So now from here, those cards are in our hand. We just go ahead and activate Polymerization. That will allow us to fuse those 3 monsters, and we can get out our Ojama King. Now that he's on the field, we can target 3 of our opponent's monster zones and then make it so they can't summon to those zones. And then Ground Collapse will take out the last 2 zones. And that's basically it. And I should also clarify that you can put Ojama King in attack mode because Ojama Country is going to flip everything around. So that means that you can just attack your opponent for 4,000 damage on their next turn as long as they have nothing to stop you. Decks nowadays are extremely monster heavy, so that really does help, and then you can poke them for that final 4,000 damage on their second turn. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for my deck profile and these couple of combos. Let me know what you guys think about this deck. I haven't done too many of these for fun decks, but I really do enjoy playing these, and Ojamas has always been a favorite of mine. So we'll catch you guys later, and don't forget about the giveaway ending on Saturday. Go ahead and check out my Instagram for the details on that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.